I have a dream. My four little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
I must confess that that dream that I had that day has at many points turned into a nightmare. Now, I'm not one to lose hope. I keep on hoping. I still have faith in the future. But I've had to analyze many things over the last few years, and I would say over the last few months. I've gone through a lot of soul-searching and agonizing moments, and I've come to see that we have many more difficult days ahead, and some of the old optimism was a little superficial, and now it must be tempered with a solid realism. And I think the realistic fact is that we still have a long, long way to go, and that we are involved in a war on Asian soil, which, if not checked and stopped, can poison the very soul of our nation. I'm not going to say that all of our problems will be solved if the war in Vietnam is ended, but I do say that the war makes it infinitely more difficult to deal with these problems. When a nation becomes obsessed with the guns of war, it loses its social perspective, and programs of social uplift suffer. This is just a fact of history, so that we do face many more difficulties as a result of the war. It's much more difficult to really arouse a conscience during a time of war. There is something about a war like this that makes people insensitive. It dulls the conscience. It strengthens the forces of reaction, and it brings into being bitterness and hatred and violence. I think the biggest problem now is that we got our gains over the last 12 years at bargain rate, so to speak. Didn't cost the nation anything. In fact, it helped the economic side of the nation to integrate lunch counters and public accommodations. It didn't cost the nation anything to get the right to vote established. And now we are confronting issues that cannot be solved without costing the nation billions of dollars. Now, I think this is where we're getting our greatest resistance. They may put it on many other things, but we can't get rid of slums and poverty without it costing the nation something. I feel that nonviolence is really the only way that we can follow, because violence is just so self-defeating. A riot ends up creating many more problems for the Negro community than it solves. You can, through violence, burn down a building, but you can't establish justice. You can murder a murderer, but you can't murder through violence. You can murder a hater, but you can't murder hate. And what we are trying to get rid of is hate and injustice and all of these other things that continue the long night of man's inhumanity to man.
When we allow freedom to reign, when we let it reign from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for America, 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 oh, we walk.
This past year was a hard one.
Not just for us.
For everybody.
Learned a lot.
But we also lost a lot too.
One of the people who left us this year was our own Congressman, John Lewis.
And while we mourn his passing, we take inspiration from the life he lived.
And the words he left behind.
On July 30th, the New York Times published an essay he wrote shortly before his death on July 17th.
He wanted to tell us about his friend Martin.
And this is what he said.
Like so many young people today, I was searching for a way out. Or some might say, a way in. And then I heard the voice of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on an old radio. He was talking about the philosophy and the discipline of nonviolence. He said we are all complicit when we tolerate injustice. He said it is not enough just to say things will get better by and by. He said each of us has a moral obligation to stand up, and speak out. John Lewis.
Selma to Montgomery, 54-mile stretch of the highway, where we walk. Raise your hands up to the sky, let the country hear your powerful cry. While we walk, 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 we walk. While we walk.
And in Selma, Alabama, on March 7th, 1965, that's just what we did.
Well, tomorrow will be very important. The reason for that is that there's a protest march on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, and I'm feeling very uneven about it. I know that most of my friends and family will do it as their rights as people, but I feel like I'm not cut out for this. But if I don't do this, then I will be frowned upon. But I can help out on the sidelines rather than up close. And I just wish people would respect the decision I made.
It's 1 a.m. and I'm having a very hard time sleeping. The march is tomorrow and I know it's extremely important and I really want to go, but my parents refuse to let me. I think the thing that's keeping me up though is that even if it was my decision, would I choose to go? I've always been afraid of death and I certainly do not want to go out this early, but I'm so immensely hurt and angry over how my brothers and sisters have been treated. I want to help, but I also want to stay alive. And I thank God every night that Dr. King and his faithful group of activists are helping change along. I know this is a critical time in history and I do not want to be on the wrong side. My family has let fear keep them home and away from everyone throughout all of this. My dad will sometimes come with me to a sit-in, but even I know that is not enough.
Realistically, I see myself supporting from the sidelines. I'll probably smile at as many marchers as I can to let them know silently that I stand by them in spirit. I just don't have the courage to be on the front lines. I don't know how anyone could. Maybe I could tag along at the end of the march. That way, if things do get out of hand, I can be one of the first to flee the scene. Yeah, I'm not built for this. Then again, I assume neither are the Black men, women, and children that have to protest. They don't have to be built for it. They're just thrown into it all. It's like an obligation. But for me, I have the luxury of choice. Like, I get to consider whether or not I want to go to the march tomorrow. I'm afraid that's just not a reality for some of my Black neighbors.
Ain't no way Mama is gonna let me go to that march, and I don't blame her. I wouldn't let her go either. Not here, not now. And Dr. King won't be there? The police are gonna treat this like the first day of hunting season. I mean, that's all we are to them. Target practice. They're gonna be looking down on us from their horses. God, I hate horses. And then they'll say, this is an unlawful assembly, as if that gives them the right to trample us in the streets. It'll be open season.
I've been helping pack lunches and bed sacks at the church every other day after school. It's small, and my mother definitely does not know, but it's making me feel like I am making a difference after all.
Even though I don't want to be part of the movement, I still like to try and help out.
I take deep breaths as my friends begin to describe the march tomorrow. Nobody is sure whether or not we will be in attendance. We just continue to learn all we can. My mother would be upset if I did go. Not because she doesn't believe in equality, she would just be so upset that I put myself in danger. I tried to reason with her. If my skin was black, I would be in danger everywhere I go around here. I think about my great aunt Marcia. She advocated tirelessly for Asian Americans, women's rights, civil rights, LGBTQ+ rights. She was selfless and strong. I hope that what connects us is more than family and the name we share. I search for her lively spirit within me. She would be proud of me for using my voice to change things. I wish she were here to help me make a strong decision. Why does fear paralyze me from doing so? I fall asleep, my mind still racing.
The thoughts go through my head. What's the worst that can happen? Will anything go wrong? What are the chances of me crossing that bridge untouched and coming home tonight? I heard the stories of what happened on some protests.
Tear gas, horses, police officers beating people to death.
I want to be free. I want equality, but I don't want to die. What good is freedom if I'm buried underground?
It isn't right that Black people have to spend their lives fighting for themselves or else become less than simply because of the color of their skin. It just isn't right. So while I'm nervous because this is my first march, I'm proud to do anything I can to help fix this injustice. Luckily, I have a few friends going with me to the march, so I won't be by myself in this brand new world. I have no idea how many people will be there, which is nerve-wracking, but also exciting, I think. Also, I'm scared of what the Black people at the march will think of me and my friends. They have every right to be scared of white people, so I guess we'll see how that turns out. I have high hopes.
It's 8:37 and my mama already put my little brothers to bed. My big brother, daddy, and mama all pace back and forth in our small living room space listening to radio static. Tomorrow we march. My mind starts to race so fast like I swallowed a Saturday morning snow cone in one bite, and I get a headache, but it's not from fear. I've always been the rebellious one. And I'm not scared for me. I'm a child of God and I'm a goddaughter of the revolution, but I'm scared for my daddy and my mama and my big brother because we're a unit. And when one of us hurts, we all do, but we are marching tomorrow. We're gonna be a part of that big black wave to crash that damn bridge.
The next morning, I wake up with a much clearer head. The sunlight streams through my window and I feel calm and present. I know in my heart, the right decision is to march across that bridge. So with a clear sense of determination, I get ready to leave. My heart and my great aunt guiding me in the right direction.
But there is uncertainty in the air.
I didn't get much sleep last night. I just kept turning and flipping and staring at the wall. I thought I was gonna throw up. But then I remembered that Raina told me she wasn't going to the march either. She was staying behind at a safety station and spending the night making first aid kits. So I wasn't getting any sleep and I just got out of bed and snuck to my bathroom to get any cotton swabs or alcohol I could find. But the light was already on. And when I opened the door, Mama was searching through my drawers with a plastic bag full of gauze and safety materials. She didn't say anything to me, and I didn't say anything to her. I just started looking for cotton swabs.
I woke up this morning with a pit in my stomach. What if we encounter violence today? What if something goes wrong? What if? Wow. Is this how Black people feel? Do they wake up every morning with fear? I know I'm not even feeling a fraction of what Black people feel on an everyday basis, and I know I never will. That's why I'm going to attend this march. If I decided I wasn't going to go at the last minute, what kind of person would that make me? If I don't do what I can to help, I'm contributing to the problem. Let's do this.
It's the day of the protest. I join the crowd and we start walking towards the bridge. Determination creeps up on me, chants and hope surround me. People who are confident about the results the protest will bring. I shake, but not so much nervousness, but the overwhelming feeling of readiness.
The air smells as if it's in our favor. It's hot, but the breeze consistently moving within the flow of the walk. The chants get louder, but I feel small amongst this large crowd of protesters. Why am I here? Is it too late to turn around? Does it matter if they have one less person?
I take a deep breath and come to realization that almost everyone around here is just as nervous as me. We're all together as one, and we have each other's back.
Hand in hand we lead with love, step by step march on to overcome. As we walk, here we are, we have a dream. Everyone under the sun granted liberty. As we walk, 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 we walk. That's why we walk. We walk, 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 we walk. That's why we walk.
I thought this was gonna be easy, but Benny from our church just ran past me. He was sprinting, knee to his chest, and with his church sweater hanging off his arm and blood on the collar of his dress shirt. I saw him coming and I froze.
I decided to walk around town to gauge the crowd, and I come across the scene just as the marchers are taking off. And as planned, I stand on the sidelines. Silent, of course. Unfortunately, I'm surrounded by a crowd of other white folks who aren't there for quite the reasons I am. They hold Confederate flags and shout hateful slurs at the marchers. God, I hope it doesn't come across as though I'm one of them.
Looking at your solemnly surprised eyes, I laugh. Because your guilt is not my triumph. My triumph is in no way linked to you and your skin or to me and mine. Victory is rooted in the forever churning crimson rock in my chest. It's rooted in me not calling little white girls ma'am the way my grandmother did. It's rooted in the rolling floods of ribbons that leave my mouth and perch on paper. Victory comes from within. It's not from knowing that their hatred of my skin is irrational, but from knowing that my bronze casing was made by the sun as a tribute to the moon and the night. My victory garden grows completely from my own will, and your guilt, your looks of pity that are supposed to tell me you are an ally and protector of my crippled past and body, your pitiful look, doesn't give cotton children their names back. It doesn't wash the blood out of white robes. It doesn't rip the target off my chest. Your gaze and your condolences don't evict culture vultures so that I can double dutch in the streets again. It can't rewrite the stories that my great-grandmother had but never told. It doesn't teach blissfully ignorant children the stories of why willows weep in Alabama or why the clay is red in Georgia. This body is my victory, and this life is my triumph. Because even though your sorry can't turn back the hands of time and rip the cotton and molasses from my mother's hands, even though Tom Robinson was found guilty before the trial started, Even though my hands are raised to the heavens and an officer can still shoot, my crown of thorns never falters.
The funny thing is, putting myself in that 1965 Selma, Alabama headspace is way easier than it should be. It breaks my heart to realize that the issues that I used to categorize as past are all of a sudden relevant in our current state of society. The marching, the tear gas, the riots, the violent abuse of the law, the disregard for human lives, the countless colored deaths at the hands of the police. We've been told that history repeats itself, but I don't think there will ever be a time where the repetition of the bad things isn't unsettling.
A reporter once asked Fannie Lou Hamer if her rigorous anti-segregation stand meant that she was seeking equality with the white man. No, she replied firmly. What would I look like fighting for equality with the white man? I don't want to go down that low.
I want the true democracy that will raise me and the white man up. That will raise America up.
John Lewis also had some things on his mind in that New York Times essay, such as police brutality.
Emmett Till was my George Floyd, he wrote. He was my Rayshard Brooks, Sandra Bland, and Breonna Taylor. He was only 14 when he was killed, and I was only 15 years old at the time. I will never forget the moment I realized that that could have easily have been me.
Though I was surrounded by two loving parents, plenty of brothers, sisters, and cousins, their love could not protect me from the unholy oppression waiting just outside that family circle. Unchecked, unrestrained violence and government-sanctioned terror had the power to turn a simple stroll to the store for some Skittles or an innocent morning jog down a lonesome country road into a nightmare. John Lewis.
When Trayvon Martin was killed, I was in the 3rd grade. Now, at the time, I didn't realize specifics of it all. All I knew was that he was wearing a hoodie, bought Skittles in Arizona, and someone killed him just for the color of his skin. Now, as a kid, that was frightening for me. That was the first time I realized that the world wasn't as happy and peaceful as I imagined it, and it had a lot of evil and hate hidden within it. At first, I was angry when I figured he was killed. Then I realized that same thing can happen to me.
Fear, noun, an unpleasant, often strong emotion caused by anticipation or awareness of danger.
When I first heard about the Ahmaud Arbery case, I thought, he's just like me, just a little bit taller. But now he's dead and he can't see his mother or his father. He was running for his life, but he was gunned down and the whole neighborhood allowed it. That boy was fighting for his life until the very end, wrestling and tussling with an armed white man. Sometimes I think that could have been me.
A white man with no fear of the law can cause as much havoc as he pleases.
Thank you, Pastor. It's a pleasure for me to share my mind with you guys today. It's been filled with a lot. I have some friends that made a decision to fulfill a goal and complete a vision. Their actions are so bold you don't even have to explain, just them coming back with scratches, bruises, and more pain. And I think to myself, is anything changing or is it all the same? I still have brothers and sisters being killed every day. But one thing they say is that a voice cannot be replaced. Continue to use that voice until there is change. I think to myself a lot, questioning the courage that I got. I want a story with a good plot, but I know all of that can be taken away by a police officer in one shot. I forgot. We're all just some shoestrings trying to untangle the knot. My mind, it's being filled with a lot. So where do I stand? On a bridge in front of 50 officers and then cuffs on my hands. You see, that's a part of the plan. Sometimes it takes sacrifices for you to get your demands. You need to look back on where this began. We just want them to understand. My mind, it's being filled with a lot. No more being quiet. No more fearing retaliation at its highest climate. You see, the thing about listening ears is they refuse to hear silence. My mind, it's being filled with a lot.
Just because I was born in a country doesn't mean I have to like it.
I don't ever remember a time where I was actively proud to be an American.
Tired of being a good one of the best ones, always well dressed ones. 'Cause times where I'm getting lonely, then I'm the only one who can show me that I'm just made out of pieces, shouldn't be left to anyone else to put them together. Dealing with my emotions, feel like the ocean, always in motion. And when the world is against me, heart's getting heavy, love's running empty. And thoughts, they come in the nighttime, never the best time to think of my time here on this earth. When it rains, it pours. When it rains, it
First, I want to say thank you, Mama Nola, for having me today and allowing me to speak. You know, if Dwayne were here, he'd probably say, baby, don't have them people crying at my funeral. But I want to honor him and his authenticity the best way that I can, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to stand here in my mess of a heartache, and I'm going to speak with my head up. You know, the thing about funerals is all we ever talk about is death. How they died, when they died, why they died, right? But Dwayne lived. Dwayne listened to country music on high volume when he thought nobody was around. Dwayne refused to eat spaghetti without a fork and a spoon. Dwayne was the clumsiest 6'3" man any of us had ever seen. Sometimes he'd hold me and he'd put his hand right over my heart and tell me he just liked knowing I was there. Dwayne loved standing in the rain. He liked the idea of just being consumed by something that God had sent down. Loving a Black man is easy. Dwayne was the easiest person to love. I mean, it was like breathing. It was instinctive and calm. Loving him was free. But loving a Black man in this world is hard work because you just never know. And I'm sure if Dwayne were here, he'd probably say, loving a Black woman is just as hard. So when Officer Tolbert thought it not robbery to take him from us, I felt sick. I felt like the whole universe caved in. Dwayne was there, and he wasn't.
What's the point in trying to see the light when every day's so dark?
You know, I don't hate America. In the end, it's the people who make up America, not the government. And although it feels like sometimes there are far more evil humans than good ones, I don't believe that that's the case.
I strongly believe you can be proud to be an American while pointing out our nation's flaws. If anything, people who refuse to walk away from America right now, but rather commit themselves to making this country better, they show true patriotism. I believe in America, but I also believe that it is our right and our duty to point fingers at America when something's wrong.
I am 100% not proud to be an American. I never have been. And I know this is offensive to some people, but honestly, I'm past the point of caring.
I honestly don't feel any ways towards America regarding being proud or ashamed. I just take this country for what it is, the good, the bad, the room for growth. It is what it is.
I'm not ashamed to be an American, but I'm definitely embarrassed.
John Lewis once said, when you see something that's not right, you must say something.
You must do something. Democracy is not a state, it is an act, and each generation must do its part to help build what we call the beloved community.
Voting and participating in the democratic process are key. The vote is the most powerful, nonviolent change agent you have in a democratic society. You must use it because it's not guaranteed. You can lose it. John Lewis.
I participated in both the presidential election and the runoff election. It's all very new to me. I've just turned 18 of last May. I didn't even know what a runoff election was for. But I hope that the results of this election will make a difference in my life and the lives of everyone here in America. It's brought out the most ugly parts of people and the most beautiful parts of people. I've lost many friends because of it. I've had to reevaluate my morals because of it. I've had to start double checking what I believe is fact because of it. I've even begun to care a little bit more about politics because of it. John Lewis was right.
I know for me personally, the runoff election made me very happy. To know that Raphael Warnock is a man of the church and a man who looks like me, who believes in the word of the Lord, is representing our state.
I voted for the second time in the runoff to once again help turn Georgia blue. With the turmoil that our country is in, I hope that my vote can return some decency to our country. Watching the runoff returns, I felt the same rush as I did with the presidential election. I felt hopeful and anxious at the same time. After this election, I think that the world will feel just a little bit calmer.
When you don't vote, you are agreeing to silence. And when you don't vote, you are giving up. When you don't vote, you lose hope. But when you vote, ears perk up in reverence to your might. I vote because I matter.
At its simplest, voting is just making a decision. You wait in line, show some stranger your ID, press a few buttons, and turn in your ballot. Then you figure out what you want for dinner. But that process, that decision, it affects generations to come. So when I voted in the runoff, I was voting for the health, education, and welfare of people who haven't even been born.
John Lewis was right.
Are you willing to die for what you believe? Lay down your life, oh, and are you willing to lose what matters to you? Send a prayer to the Lord on high.
John Lewis knew how sick he was when he wrote that last essay. Though I may not be here with you, he wrote, I urge you to answer the highest calling of your heart and to stand up for what you truly believe. In my lifetime, I have done everything that I can to demonstrate that the way of love and nonviolence is the more excellent way.
Now it's your turn to let freedom ring. John Lewis.
Dear Dr. King, hello. My name is Ibrahim Sedebeh. I'm 18 years old, and I go to Martha Allen Stillwell in Morrow, Georgia. I'm a black man in a black community with rarely any white people, yet we're still being controlled by white people oppressing us. I was just writing to ask, how did you do it? Because right now, I'm completely at a loss. As a black person, I feel like I'm the most hated in society, and I'm trying to find my motivation and heart to still stand for my people, but every time we accomplish anything, it's taken before we even have the chance to celebrate. We're all so divided, which just got me thinking, what's the point? I mean, you put people together to stand for something beautiful. You put not only black people, but all people on a platform and said, we matter, so treat us like we do. But ever since you left, you've been so lost. I wish you were still here to help guide us. Thank you for everything you've done for us. Sincerely, Ibrahim.
Dear Dr. King, my name is Ari Isenberg, and I'm a 19-year-old filmmaker, photographer, actor, and magician from Atlanta, Georgia. Currently, I've been attending my first year as a student in the film TV program at NYU Tisch, but due to a global pandemic, I've had to take my classes online. But enough about me. I'm sure you know how important you were during the civil rights era, but today you are a historical icon because of the incredible work you did by standing up for what you believe. Your I Have a Dream speech is one of the most famous of all time. Yes, your work accomplished so many incredible things, but we're still not really at that place you describe in your speech. Did you think by 2021 everything would be much better than it is now? I know you can't respond, but I think it's important for us to think about things like this. I have a lot more that I could say to you, but it was great to be able to express just this for now. Thank you for everything you did. Sincerely, Ari.
Dear Dr. King, I'm Kearney-Pelsey. I'm 17 years old and I go to Druid Hills High School as a senior. My dreams are to become a success in the film and theater industry, and I've always felt motivated by people like you. You've changed history for the best. This year has been very challenging for African Americans, knowing that the death of George Floyd happened. And ever since that death, people have been protesting for equality and justice. And those protests were inspired by you. I kind of want you to be here to have a reaction to the white supremacists breaking into the Capitol, but you're not. And I just want to say one last thing. Thank you. Sincerely, Keith.
Dear Dr. King, my name is Fiona Tagami and I live in Atlanta, Georgia. More than anything, I wish that the nation had your guidance right now. Seeing the violence and anger that still festers in so many in this country is scary. It makes it difficult to stay calm. The nation needs your voice at times like these, to remind us of the power of peaceful protesting. Everything now is amplified by a million because of social media and the news. Injustice doesn't even shock me anymore. I've become numb, and that's scary too. I wonder if you ever felt numb to the injustices around you. I wonder if you ever had the urge to fight back with violence. I know that this letter is full of questions, but I feel so lost and in need of guidance. I think just about everyone in this country feels lost. I hope our country can find a way to heal. I hope your spirit guides us in finding ways to settle our differences without violence. We need you now more than ever. Sincerely, Fiona.
Dear Dr. King, my name's Alivia Wynn, and I hate to say it, but America isn't a bed of roses and equality. There's still a lot of people filled with hate, but we're still fighting and protesting and using our voices so that we can live your dream. It's tiring sometimes, trying to find the balance between living my life for myself and creating change. But then I remember that you were a person too, with a family and kids. You had a favorite meal, a favorite song. You told jokes with your friends and retold old stories. We're only human too, and we can only do our best. I use your legacy as inspiration to keep moving, and I will use my talents to make change. I think you'd be proud to know that there are so many other young people doing the same thing. We're using our words, our hands, our pens, and our votes to make change. There's a long way to go, but we are not stopping. Sincerely, Alivia.
You're Dr. King. I'm Chloe Beaver. I'm 17 and a senior at the Lovett School. I woke up this morning with a happy and full heart. Georgia had voted blue, but more importantly, Georgia had voted for reform and change. Georgians were agents of change in this election, and I'm so proud. I know you'd be too. We have our first Black senator ever and our first Jewish senator elected to a South state since the 1880s. Actually, it's even more amazing for me because John Ossoff, our new Jewish senator, actually grew up in the same temple that I did. Okay, it's gonna sound silly, but after Biden was elected president, I hopped over to Amazon and purchased a small but significant $7.99 American flag pin to put on my backpack, right next to my Israeli pin. Thank you for all you did. Sincerely, Chloe.
Dear Dr. King, it's such an honor to be able to write to you. My name is Kamryn Charles. I live in Georgia, your home state, in the suburbs of Atlanta. I'm 18, soon to be 19, although it feels like I've grown up a lot faster than 18-year-olds used to. So much has changed, and crazily enough, so much is exactly the same. Tear gas, riots, white abuse of power, racism, classism, overall hatred over trivial things. It's all still here and recent. In fact, a couple days ago, Capitol Hill was stormed by white supremacists. So we have a lot of growing to do as a nation. There is a lot of pain going on right now. It's hard to encompass everything that we're going through. Trying to put it all into words feels like a chore, but all I can ask is that you pray for us, sing for us, rejoice for us. We are still carrying your torch. We are still continuing your promise. We love you, Dr. King. Sincerely, Kamryn Charles.
Hello, Elder. I'm Elizabeth Lee, a performing artist from Atlanta, Georgia, and I use art to inform, release, collaborate, laugh, find truth, and do pretty much everything else. I'm a young woman, just 19 years old, trying to navigate and be an example of what love looks like. Through your unique lens, I know you can see what's happening in our nation right now. Is this where you thought we'd be in this American moment? I'm curious, are you disappointed? Are you elated? Or do you reside somewhere in the middle? Because that's where I am. I'm in the liminal space between sorrow and joy. I'm exhausted. I'm having a hard time existing right now because whenever I settle into this groove of serenity, the world just breaks my heart. But it's not all bad. I voted this year. Me, a little Black girl from Conyers, and it's because you fought for me to be able to walk into that precinct and vote like my life depends on it, because it does. Thank you, Dr. King. In love and power, Elizabeth.
We started with the words of John Lewis. We want to end with one more thing he told us.
Ordinary people with extraordinary vision can redeem the soul of America by getting into what I call good trouble.
Necessary trouble.
And we will.
And we will.
Provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity today, and establish this Constitution for America.
the heavens, no man, no weapon formed against, yes, glory is destined. Everyday women and men become legends. Sins that go against our skin become blessings. The movement is a rhythm to us. Freedom is like religion to us. Justice is juxtaposition in us. Justice for all just ain't specific enough. One son died, the spirit is revisiting us. True and living in us. Resistance is us. That's why Rosa sat on the bus. That's why we walk through Ferguson with our hands up. When it go down, we woman and man up. They say stay